My due date was April 15th, but Lily had other plans. On the evening of April 8th, I started having contractions while Jake and I were watching a movie at home. At first, they were mild and regular, so we weren't sure if this was the real thing. Should we call the doctor? Jake asked, looking nervous and excited. Let's wait a bit longer, I replied. First babies usually take their time. But over the next few hours, the contractions became stronger and more regular. By midnight, they were 5 minutes apart and lasting a full minute each. As a labor and delivery nurse, I knew it was time to head to the hospital. This is it, I told Jake, who was rushing around our apartment gathering last-minute items for our hospital bag. Jake drove us to Chicago General, where I had worked for 6 years. It felt surreal to be arriving as a patient instead of a nurse. The overnight staff in L&D knew me well, and they welcomed us with excitement and professional care. Emma, called out Sarah, one of my closest colleagues. Tonight's the night. How are you feeling? Nervous, excited, terrified. The usual. After triage and examination, Dr. Patterson, my OBGYN, determined that I was 4 centimeters dilated and fully effaced. You're definitely in active labor, she said. Let's get you settled in a room. Jake was being the perfect supportive partner, holding my hand during contractions, timing them on his phone, asking the nurses what he could do to help. I felt so grateful to have him by my side during this incredible, scary experience. But around 3 a.m., my labor suddenly intensified. The contractions became overwhelming, and I needed all my focus just to breathe through them. Dr. Patterson examined me again and looked concerned. Emma, your baby's heart rate is dropping during contractions, she said gently. I want to monitor you more closely. This might indicate some distress. Hi, I'm Emma Sullivan. I'm 28 years old, and I'm a registered nurse at Chicago General Hospital. 3 months ago, I gave birth to the most beautiful baby girl in the world, my daughter, Lily Rose. What makes this story unique is that I gave birth completely alone, by choice, in the same hospital where I work. You might wonder how a woman ends up giving birth without telling the baby's father. Let me explain. Sometimes the most painful revelations come at the most vulnerable moments. And sometimes those revelations give you a clarity so sharp it cuts through years of lies in an instant. I had been with Jake Martinez for 4 years, living together for 2. We weren't married, but we were planning our future together. Or at least I thought we were. When I got pregnant, Jake seemed excited about becoming a father. He came to doctor's appointments, helped me set up the nursery, talked about our future as a family. But everything changed on the night I went into labor, in a hospital waiting room, when I accidentally saw text messages that revealed the father of my child had been living a double life. That discovery led me to make the most empowering decision of my life. I chose to bring my daughter into the world surrounded by people who truly cared about us, not by someone who had been lying to us for months. This is the story of how betrayal in a waiting room became the catalyst for the most beautiful beginning of my life. Jake and I met at a coffee shop near the hospital where I work. I was just finishing a brutal 12-hour shift in the ICU when I stopped for my usual large coffee and blueberry muffin. Jake was ahead of me in line, and when the barista told him they were out of blueberry muffins, he turned to me and offered to let me order first. You look like you've had a longer day than I have, he said with a smile that made my exhausted heart skip a beat. I had been single for almost 2 years at that point, focusing entirely on my nursing career and recovering from a previous relationship that had ended badly. My ex-boyfriend, another nurse, had cheated on me with a resident, and I had sworn off dating anyone in the medical field. Jake represented something different: stability, honesty, a life outside the high-stress world of healthcare. Jake was a construction foreman, ruggedly handsome, with calloused hands and an easy laugh. He was so different from the doctors and medical professionals I was used to dating. He was grounded, practical, and seemed genuinely interested in my work as a nurse. We started dating casually, but it quickly became serious. Jake was attentive and romantic in an old-fashioned way. He brought me flowers after difficult shifts, cooked dinner when I worked late, and always seemed to know exactly what I needed after a hard day at the hospital. When we moved in together after 2 years, it felt natural and right. Jake's construction company was doing well, and my nursing career was progressing. We talked about marriage, about buying a house, about starting a family someday. Jake had always been somewhat secretive about his phone and his social media, but I attributed it to his traditional, private nature. "I don't need to broadcast my personal business to the world," he would say, when I teased him about not posting photos of us together. Looking back, there were red flags I chose to ignore. Jake traveled frequently for construction projects, sometimes for weeks at a time. He would be hard to reach during these trips, claiming poor cell service or long workdays. When he came home, he seemed different, distant, distracted, like his mind was somewhere else. When I got pregnant last year, Jake's reaction was mixed. He seemed happy, but also stressed, worried about finances and timing. "Are we really ready for this?" he asked multiple times during my first trimester. But as my pregnancy progressed, Jake seemed to settle into the idea of fatherhood. He painted the nursery, assembled the crib, and even started reading parenting books. I thought we were building something beautiful together. Dr. Patterson recommended that I try different positions and movements to help the baby, and suggested that Jake might want to step out for a few minutes while the nursing staff helped me. "Sometimes partners need a little break too," she said kindly. "This could still take several hours." Jake kissed my forehead. "I'll just grab some coffee and call my boss to let him know I won't be at the job site today," he said. "I'll be right back." As Jake left, Sarah stayed with me to help me through the intense contractions. "You're doing amazingly," she encouraged. "Your body knows what to do." About 20 minutes later, I realized I had left my phone charger in Jake's car, and my phone was dying. I asked Sarah if she could find Jake and ask him to bring the charger from the car. "Of course," Sarah said. "I'll track him down." Sarah returned 5 minutes later with a strange expression on her face. "Emma, Jake's in the waiting room, but he's on the phone and seems to be having an intense conversation. Do you want me to interrupt him?" "No, that's okay," I said. "The charger can wait." But something about Sarah's expression bothered me. During the next contraction, I decided I needed to see what was going on. Despite the pain and exhaustion, I was worried that Jake might be getting bad news about work or family. "I want to walk around a bit," I told Sarah. "Dr. Patterson said movement might help." Sarah helped me out of bed, and we slowly walked toward the waiting room. Through the glass doors, I could see Jake sitting alone, hunched over his phone. But he wasn't on a call. He was texting furiously. "Can you help me get a little closer?" I asked Sarah. "I just want to make sure he's okay." As we approached the waiting room, I could see Jake's screen clearly. He was in a text conversation, and what I saw made my blood run cold, even as another contraction built. The contact name at the top of the conversation read, "Maria Hart." The messages I could see were devastating. "Jake, I can't do this anymore. She's in labor and all I can think about is you." "Maria, baby, I know this is hard, but we've talked about this. You have to see this through." "Jake, I feel like I'm living a lie. When this is over, I want to be with you. Really be with you." "Maria, soon, mi amor. Once the baby comes and things settle down, we can figure out our future." I felt like I was going to collapse, and not from the labor pains. Sarah immediately noticed my distress and helped support me as another contraction hit. "Emma, what's wrong?" she whispered urgently. Through gritted teeth, both from pain and heartbreak, I told her what I had just seen. Sarah's face went white with anger and shock. "That bastard," she whispered. "Emma, I'm so sorry. What do you want to do?" In that moment, As I watched the father of my child texting another woman about their future together while I labored to bring his daughter into the world, I felt something crystallize inside me. It wasn't just heartbreak, it was clarity. "I want to go back to my room," I said quietly, "and I don't want Jake in there." "Are you sure?" Sarah asked gently. "I'm sure. Can you tell security to not let him back into the labor and delivery unit? Tell them there's been a change in my birth plan." Sarah squeezed my hand. "Of course, whatever you need." As we walked back to my room, I made a decision that felt both impulsive and completely right. I was going to give birth to my daughter surrounded by people who truly cared about us, not by someone who was planning his exit strategy via text message. Back in my room, I asked Sarah to call my best friend Rachel and my mom. "Tell them to come now if they want to be here for the birth," I said. "And tell them Jake won't be here." "Emma, are you sure about this?" Sarah asked gently. "This is a huge decision to make while you're in labor." I've never been more sure of anything in my life, as another contraction peaked. My daughter deserves to come into a world where she is truly wanted by everyone present. Jake has already checked out emotionally. I won't have him pretending to be present for this moment when his heart is with someone else. My mom and Rachel arrived within an hour, both shocked by what had happened, but immediately supportive. My mom held one hand while Rachel held the other as my contractions intensified. "Where's Jake?" my mom asked quietly. "In the waiting room, texting his girlfriend," I said between breaths. "Security knows not to let him back here." Rachel's eyes filled with fury. "I'll kill him," she muttered. "No," I said firmly. "Today is about bringing my daughter into the world safely. Jake's choices are his problem now." Dr. Patterson returned to check my progress and was surprised to see the change in my support team. But as a professional, she didn't ask questions. "You're 8 centimeters dilated," she announced. "We're getting close." Meanwhile, Sarah told me that Jake had approached the nurse's station multiple times, asking why he couldn't get back into my room. Security had told him there was a change in the birth plan and that he needed to wait for further instructions. "He keeps texting you," Sarah said, showing me my phone, which she had retrieved from the bedside table. "Should I turn it off?" "Yes," I said, without hesitation. "I don't want to hear from him right now." As my labor progressed, I felt surrounded by genuine love and support. My mom told me stories about my own birth, Rachel made me laugh between contractions, and Sarah provided the professional medical support I needed as both my nurse and my friend. At 8:47 a.m. on April 9th, after 14 hours of labor, Lily Rose Sullivan was born. She was perfect. 7 pounds, 2 ounces, with a full head of dark hair and the most beautiful little face I had ever seen. "She's gorgeous, Emma," Dr. Patterson said, as she placed Lily on my chest. "Congratulations, Mama." I looked down at my daughter and felt a love so powerful it took my breath away. In that moment, I knew I had made the right choice. This perfect little person deserved to be welcomed into the world by people who were fully present, fully committed, and fully honest about their love for her. For the first 2 hours after Lily's birth, I was in a bubble of pure joy. I held my daughter skin to skin, tried breastfeeding for the first time, and marveled at her tiny fingers and toes. My mom and Rachel took turns holding her, both crying with happiness. "She looks just like you did as a baby," my mom said softly. Around 11 a.m., Sarah came in looking uncomfortable. "Emma, Jake is still in the waiting room. Security has told him that you and the baby are fine, but he's demanding to see you both. Legally, we can't keep him away indefinitely since he's the father." I had been dreading this moment, but I knew it had to happen eventually. "Okay," I said, feeling surprisingly calm. "But I want Mom and Rachel to stay in the room, and I want you here too, Sarah." Sarah nodded. "Of course, I'll get him." A few minutes later, Jake appeared in the doorway. He looked exhausted, confused, and frustrated. When he saw me holding Lily, his expression softened momentarily. "Emma, what the hell is going on?" he demanded. "They wouldn't let me in here for hours. I missed everything. I missed my daughter being born." I looked at him, really looked at him, and felt nothing but sadness for what we had lost and what had never really been real. "You didn't miss anything that mattered to you," I said calmly. "You were busy texting Maria about your future together." Jake's face went completely white. "Emma, I saw the texts, Jake, all of them. While I was in labor with your daughter, you were telling another woman that you couldn't wait to be with her, that you felt like you were living a lie." Jake glanced around the room at my mom, Rachel, and Sarah, all of whom were staring at him with undisguised disgust. "Can we talk privately?" he asked weakly. "No," I said firmly. "These people have been here for me and for Lily. They've earned the right to hear this conversation. You lost that right when you chose to have an emotional affair while I was bringing your child into the world." Jake tried several approaches: denial, "It's not what you think," minimization, "She's just a friend from work," and finally anger. "You had no right to keep me out of my daughter's birth." I had every right. I chose to surround my daughter with people who were fully present for her arrival, not someone whose heart was somewhere else. 3 months later, as I write this story, Lily and I are thriving. We live in a beautiful apartment near the hospital, and I've been able to arrange my nursing schedule to maximize time with my daughter. The first few weeks of single motherhood were overwhelming, but my support system rallied around us in ways that still bring tears to my eyes. My mom moved in for the first month to help with night feedings and recovery. Rachel organized a meal train with our friends, ensuring we had home-cooked dinners for 6 weeks. My colleagues at the hospital created a flexible childcare network so I could return to work without worrying about Lily's care. Most surprisingly, my story spread through our hospital community, and I received support from unexpected places. Dr. Patterson told me she had made a similar choice years earlier, when she discovered her ex-husband's infidelity during her pregnancy. "You showed incredible strength," she told me. "Lily will always know she was born into authenticity." Jake's construction company did business throughout the Midwest, and it turned out Maria was a site supervisor he had been working with in Milwaukee for over a year. Their relationship had become serious enough that Jake had been planning to leave Chicago and me after Lily was born. My discovery in the waiting room had simply accelerated his timeline. Jake tried to reconcile for a few weeks after Lily's birth, claiming that seeing his daughter had made him realize what was truly important. But I had already seen his true priorities, and they didn't include us. We established a custody arrangement through lawyers. Jake sees Lily every other weekend and pays child support, but there's no co-parenting relationship. He moved to Milwaukee to be with Maria permanently, and while I'm glad he's found what he thinks makes him happy, I'm grateful he's not a constant presence in our daily lives. The day I saw those text messages was the day I learned that sometimes the most devastating betrayals can become the most empowering moments of your life. Jake thought he was planning his future with Maria while managing his obligations to me and Lily. What he actually did was show me that I was strong enough to handle anything, including single motherhood, as long as I was surrounded by genuine love and support. Lily's birthday wasn't what I had planned, but it was exactly what we needed. She came into the world surrounded by people who chose to be there, who wanted to be there, who were fully present for every moment. Being a single mother is challenging, but it's also incredibly rewarding. I make all the decisions about Lily's care, her schedule, her future. I don't have to negotiate with someone whose priorities might not align with ours. I don't have to wonder if the person sharing my bed is thinking about someone else. Most importantly, Lily will grow up seeing that her mother chose authenticity over convenience, truth over comfort, and self-respect over settling. She'll learn that love should be wholehearted, honest, and present, not divided, secretive, and half-hearted. Jake gave me the greatest gift imaginable, our beautiful daughter. But he also gave me something else valuable, the clarity to know that I deserved better than someone who could text another woman about their future while his daughter was being born. Every morning when I wake up to Lily's sweet face, I'm grateful for that moment of painful clarity in the hospital waiting room. It led me to make the best decision of my life, choosing to surround my daughter with genuine love from the very moment she took her breath. Sometimes the most beautiful beginnings come from the most painful revelations, and sometimes giving birth alone means you're actually surrounded by everyone who truly matters. If this story shocked you, just wait for what's next. Leave a comment, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and of course, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a single notification.